Hello, I'm Myra and I'm 28 years old. I'm living really comfortably right now, and it's no thanks to my ex-husband and mother-in-law. Before I get entirely into the story, let me tell you about how I met my ex-husband, Max. Max and I met in high school. We were juniors when we first met, but we didn't start properly dating until we were at the end of our senior year. I know a lot of people wouldn't get into a relationship at that point, considering college and all that, but luckily, Max and I planned to go to the same university. Max was the perfect guy for me. He understood me like no one else did, and I genuinely thought that I was the luckiest girl alive. We shared everything together and we never really had any fights. After we graduated college, Max decided it was time for me to meet his mom. Not only because we had been dating for so long, but also because we were going to move in together. Also, Max's mom was the most important person to him, considering he lost his dad to a car accident when he had just started high school. Max's mother, Sasha, had known about me, but we never formally met. I hoped that she'd like me, especially considering how I had been in Max's life for a good 4 years up until then, but she made it very clear since the first day she met me that she did not like me. I never understood why, and neither did Max. She was openly rude and hostile towards me. She kept belittling and insulting me. Whenever Max spoke up for me, she would get even angrier. Max and I decided that it would be best for me to limit interactions with his mother because the way she was treating me was beginning to affect me. Aside from that, I got a really good job straight out of college. I had a degree in a pretty niche and high-return field, and that really paid off, literally. Max, on the other hand, wasn't as privileged as I was. He earned a pretty average amount, and I had no problem footing most of our expenses. We divided our contributions based on our income, and we were happy. After about 3 years of focusing on our careers, Max proposed to me and we got married the following year. It was the happiest and most wonderful day of my life. Of course, Sasha did say some mean things and she did try to sabotage the wedding, but we had security to handle that for us. About 6 months after we got married, Max and I decided to buy an apartment of our own. We could have bought a house, but I did not want to be stuck paying off a mortgage for years to come when I could just buy an apartment without having to worry about paying anything back. I had saved up more than enough money to buy a nice 2-story apartment. Of course, Max also did contribute whatever he could, and before we knew it, we were setting foot in our very own apartment. We took our time furnishing it to our liking, and once we were nicely settled in, we decided to have some guests over. We invited our parents along with our siblings and their families for a little housewarming party. I was super happy to see everyone there. Everything was going well until Max and I happened to have a conversation with Sasha. "This is a nice place." "I know, right? It's really nice that we get to live here." "So how much in mortgage are you guys paying?" "Oh, we were able to save up more than enough to purchase this apartment for ourselves." "What? How did you do that?" "Well, I contributed some, but really Myra's the one who had the means to do it." "Really? How come?" "Well, she earns about 4 times what I do. She was able to put away a lot more savings than I was able to." "So she earns more than you? Doesn't that bother you?" "Why should it bother him? He gets to live well, and I have no issues spending on him." "It is the duty of the man of the house to provide for the family. It's disgusting that you're the one doing the role of the man." "Are you saying that your son is less of a man because of it?" "No, I'm saying that you're taking away his ability to be a man." "I don't really think so. I mean, do our genders really matter as long as both of us are happy?" "Of course it does. This happiness you guys are feeling is just temporary. Pretty soon, Max, you're going to feel the weight of disappointment and failure for not being able to provide for your family." "That will never happen. Who cares if Max doesn't earn as much or more than I do? He still does his work around the house and contributes equally to every other aspect of our relationship. You make him do housework? Max, tell me, did your dad ever do anything around the house? That's because it was my job. My husband brought home the money and I made sure he had a relaxing place to come back to when he was tired. Mom, I think that's enough. No, it's not enough. Myra is emasculating you and you're just letting her do that. Sasha, maybe that's how things worked in your relationship, but that's not how it works in ours. Max and I are equals, and there's nothing you could say or do that will change that. Now, you could drop this topic and join us for dinner, or you could leave. Sasha's archaic way of thinking was honestly funny to me at that time. I couldn't believe that she genuinely thought that way. After the party, Max and I did have a good laugh about it, and it kind of became an inside joke between the both of us. I didn't think much of Sasha's comments because I saw no substance in them. I assumed it was the same for Max, especially considering how we joked about the conversation from time to time. But that wasn't the case. A good 2 months had passed since that conversation, and it began to eat away at him. Besides, I'm sure that whenever he called or visited Sasha, she must have reiterated the same things to him over and over again until that was all he could think about. I know that much because one weekend, Max and I were relaxing in bed when I remembered that I wanted to invest in something to further grow my money, so I asked him about it. So, I'm thinking of investing in something. Do you have any ideas? I don't know. Well, you have a lot of finance friends. Could you maybe ask them for an opinion? I don't know. What's going on? Is everything okay? Yeah. Okay? It's clearly not. You're not talking to me properly. Do you want to talk about it? I don't know. Max, I can't read your mind. You either tell me what's going on or behave right. I just don't like how you're flaunting your money. Flaunting my money? What do you mean? I get it. You have a lot of money. Every other day you want to buy something or do something expensive. It's disheartening. It makes me feel worthless. Whoa. Where is this coming from? Is this because of what your mother said that time she came over? I just couldn't help but think about it. It feels like you enjoy lording your money over me. I'm really sorry that I made you feel that way, but can I just say that I have never once tried to do that. I only do things that make us both happy, and I never expect you to pay for anything or do anything that you can't afford. Exactly. You don't expect anything from me because you know I can't give you what you want. Max, I don't want anything from you except for your company. I just want you by my side. And I want you to have fun with me. How can I have fun when I constantly see you pay for everything? I feel pathetic. Well, what do you want to do about it? I want us to split everything equally. I want us to go on more affordable dates. I want us to live in an equal manner. But Max, I take on the brunt of the bills because you won't have any fun money to spend if we do it equally. That's only because you want everything to be expensive. If we live properly, I'll be able to afford everything. All right, if that's what you want. I was confused because I didn't understand why Max should voluntarily put himself through hardships. I wanted nothing more than to rationalize things with him, but he seemed hell-bent on being my equal. It hurt to see how he was slowly changing, but I'd hoped that by giving him what he wanted, he'd realize he was wrong and he'd come back to me. The next few months were pretty good for me. My budget got freed up by a lot, and I had more money to spend on whatever I liked. Obviously, I did not do that, at least not in front of Max. I figured that would only add more fuel to the fire, so I either saved that money up or found places to invest it in. As for Max, he was struggling. He was barely eating because he had no money to spare for the food at the end of the month, even though I always made sure our fridge and pantry was stocked with food to eat. He refused to touch anything that I bought. It infuriated me, but I let things go. I never approached Max because I expected him to come to me just like he had when he wanted the new arrangement. However, instead of Max, Sasha called me while I was at work one day. "Hello, Sasha. Is everything all right?" "How can everything be all right when my poor son is suffering?" "Huh? What are you talking about?" "My son barely has the time or money to come and see me anymore, and that's all because of you." "How is it because of me? He asked me to split everything equally, and that's what we've been following for the last few months." "I know you're taking money from him. That's why he's struggling so much." "Do you hear how insane you sound? What use would I have with his money? I have more than enough." "No, I just know that you're upset that Max asked for equal splits for everything. I know you are because you keep flaunting how well you're living while you can see Max struggling. My budget may have gotten freer since he asked for the equal split, but I have not in any way flaunted it. I love Max. I see no reason why I should show off anything I have. You put that disgusting idea in his head. You are the only one responsible for this." "How dare you speak to me that way? Unlike you, I only have my son's best interests at heart. Why would I not have his best interests at heart? He's my husband. I've known him for 9 years. I want nothing but the best for him, which is why I even agreed to this stupid request. I don't care what you do, but make sure my son isn't suffering. I want you to stay out of our business. I don't want you putting ugly ideas in his head anymore. Goodbye." Honestly, I was fuming. Sasha had been the one to interfere in my marriage. She started it, and yet she had the nerve to blame me for it. That day, when I went back home, I sat Max down and told him about my phone call with his mother. I told him that I expected him to communicate with me if he was struggling, and not his mother. Max was silent the whole time and casually apologized to me for everything. I was peeved by the way he was still acting as if he didn't care, but I let it slide. I asked him if he wanted to go back to our previous arrangement, and he simply grunted in approval. I was tired of his antics by then, and the conversation had been going on for a good hour, so I just let things go and went to sleep. The next few months went by relatively better. Max seemed happier, and I felt like our relationship was getting back on track. I didn't hear much from Sasha, and I was honestly grateful for it. I did tell Max I didn't want him talking to her too much, especially about our financial matters, because she'd done enough damage. I thought he had been listening, but he had not. Max approached me one night out of the blue to talk to me about something serious. "We need to talk." "We do? About what?" "I've been talking to my mother, and she made me realize something." "Oh, what is it?" "I want a divorce." "What? Why? Did I do or say something wrong?" "Well, I've been thinking about it, and don't you think it's pathetic that I'm depending on you financially?" "No! What are you talking about?" "Myra, I'm the man of the house. It should be up to me to provide for you, not the other way around." "Does it really matter who's providing for us when both of us are living happily and comfortably?" "We may be content with it, but don't you see how it might look to people outside? All of my friends are the sole or main providers for their family. I'm like some pathetic loser who depends on his wife for an allowance to even go out." "First of all, we live in the 21st century. No one thinks like that. Secondly, none of your friends are living comfortably. They're all living paycheck to paycheck. Every time you come back home, you tell me about how all your friends complained about their living situations while you sat and mum. Don't you see how much of a privilege it was to do that?" "Who cares? Do you know how many insults I've had to hear because I was a wife's pet?" "So you're going to divorce me because I earn too much?" "No, it's because you're making me look like less of a man. That's something I will not stand for." "Wow. And you're telling me this is because of something your mother said?" "Well, she just opened my eyes to the reality that I was living in. It just hit me how pathetic I looked. And I never want to keep living like this." "Do you think we could go for counseling? Maybe we could talk about it in depth and work through it. Absolutely not. I want to get out of this relationship, and there's nothing you can do or say that will change my mind. Okay then. I was heartbroken. I couldn't believe that Max couldn't see past something as small as me earning more than him. Was that all it took for him to break off a relationship that was 10 years long? Everything in me was screaming to fight even more to save the relationship, but I knew that there was no convincing him when he had made up his mind. I had a lawyer file the divorce and present the papers to Max. Without even a moment's hesitation, he signed it. Sasha had come over that day and she smirked at me as Max signed the paper. I couldn't help but think about how Sasha would be the reason for Max's suffering in the future. A part of me hoped that Max would struggle just so he could see how good he had it with me, but I quickly got rid of those thoughts. I tried to leave the apartment to Max because I didn't want him to move back in with his mother, but he refused to take it. According to him, there would be no use divorcing me if he took the first thing I bought to flaunt my wealth to him. I was beyond heartbroken at that. It really was sad to see just how much Sasha's words got to him. I quickly moved out of that apartment after the divorce. The entire place was one giant reminder of Max. I decided to instead rent out the apartment and use that money as a passive income. The universe, however, thought I deserved something good after the divorce because a month after it, I got promoted. The promotion came with an even bigger pay raise and a lot more benefits. After just 3 months of working, I was able to save up enough to buy myself a nice big mansion. The decision to buy it was purely because I had always wanted one. Of course I did make plans to buy it when I was with Max too. I just thought I could surprise him with it one day, but I'm so glad I didn't. I kept working harder and I lived as luxuriously as I could. I guess I just wanted to show myself just what I was capable of doing when I didn't have the guilt of having too much money weighing down on me. About 6 months after the divorce, I was surprised to see Sasha and Max at my door. Hi, Myra. Hey, Myra. What do you guys want? I see you're living pretty well. Well, I realized I was being held back and I just worked to my full potential. Listen, I just wanted to say I'm so sorry for everything that I did to us. Oh, well, the past is in the past. Is that all you came here for? Because I'm a little busy right now and I don't have time for you. There's no need to be rude, Myra. I think you've had enough say in my life. I don't want to hear anything more from you. Hey, please calm down. I get that you're still angry and upset with me, but please don't talk to my mother that way. I'm not angry or upset with you. I've learned to let go of everything that happened. But I am standing up for myself in a way that you never allowed me to do. If all you're here for is to berate me, I'm going to go. No, wait. We actually needed to talk to you about something. I'm giving you a minute to run through whatever you need to talk about. Well, after our divorce, I moved into Mom's place. I thought I'd be living a free man, but I actually struggled a lot. Mom's retired and she had no money to spare for me. I was living paycheck to paycheck and I never had any time for fun things like I used to when I was with you. I'm so sorry that I ever thought that I could live a better life away from you. I told you this would happen, but you refused to listen to me or see any reason. Instead, you wanted to listen to your mother. This is exactly what you deserve. How could I have known just how much you were helping my son? I was only doing what was best for him. I didn't want my son to be the butt of jokes among his friends. Right, so you'd rather see him struggle. I don't even think that was the reason you influenced him to leave me. You just didn't like me and you wanted me out. That's not the case, Myra. Listen, whatever's happened has happened. Could we please move past it? Could you please take me back? Why would I ever take you back? You've shown me what you're really like, and after staying away from you for just this short time, I've realized just how much I've been missing out on because I was always too scared of your fragile ego. It was not fragile. Look, we're struggling. Could you help us out a little, at least? You're living in a mansion. I'm sure you have some money to help us out. Sasha, you're part of the reason that Max doesn't have access to this luxury that I have. You have some audacity to ask me for help when you bullied me for years and tore apart my marriage. I have absolutely no obligation to help you out. Don't you have any sympathy for us? We were together for 10 years. Don't I mean something to you? Those are questions you should have asked yourself before asking for a divorce over something as stupid as me earning more than you. If you could throw away our relationship then, why can't I see no value in you anymore? I'm so glad my son left a horrible, selfish person like you. At least this selfish, horrible person isn't struggling enough to go begging their ex for help. Goodbye. The audacity that both of them had to come over and demand me to give them money surprised me. It had been a short enough time for them to realize how wrong they were, and I was glad that it hit them. I thought the first time that Max and I split our expenses equally would have taught him something, but he let his ego get in the way and he had no one to blame but himself. I built my life to where it was no thanks to him, and there was no way that I was ever going to let him come back. Of course, Sasha and Max did not like how I responded to them. They told a lot of their relatives about me refusing to help them out, and I got a lot of calls and texts. I simply told them all that if they were so passionate about helping Max and Sasha, then they could help them out themselves. I was not bothered by them anymore. I've been happier ever since that conversation because I've grown so much and I've shown myself what I was capable of. The old me would have felt bad and caved in, but I've realized my worth and I know that I'm not someone who should be taken for granted. Besides, I deserve someone who has a better hold and understanding of their self-worth, someone who won't easily get influenced by others' ideals. For now, I'm going to take my time recovering and rediscovering myself. After all, I haven't been single since I turned 18. I'm going to enjoy my single life and splurge on all the best things that life has to offer. Thank you for listening to me.